usually one conforming to Jungian archetypes. In this case, a scarecrow.
In order to properly understand who we are, it is important for us to understand the forms that we often embody as these beings of consciousness. As we come into these physical forms, we begin to embody these different energies, these different, what Carl Jung referred to as archetypes. These archetypes fall under many different categories and many different subsets that we can identify under. And these help us to better understand who we are as individuals. It helps us to step into these forms and embody them so that we can step into a greater version of ourselves. Once we step into these different aspects, we begin to unlock doors within the mansion that is the totality of our entire being, of our consciousness. We begin to open and unlock these doors that reveal different aspects of ourselves, that open and unlock the door to different memories of this life that may have been suppressed, and even past lives. It creates a ripple effect within your timeline, within not only your future, but also your past. And these archetypes are formless. They are like energy signatures, imprints within the collective consciousness. And in order for us to better understand ourselves, it is important to understand the different archetypes for which we can fall under. So today I'm going to be discussing the various archetypes and how you can utilize that in order to step into and embody the fullest version of yourself. I'm Cody, and I help people to activate their divine consciousness codes that will ignite their heart ablaze and open the door to limitless possibilities. So a quote that I wanted to refer to by Carl Jung that I really liked helps to really express this idea of what an archetype is. The archetype is essentially an unconscious content that is altered by becoming conscious and by being perceived, and it takes its color from the individual consciousness in which it happens to appear. This means the energy itself already has its own signature. It already has its own properties and its own characteristics. It is in and of itself its own body of consciousness. But it's not a physical form, so to speak. It's like a thought form. It's like a label that we give to something to help us to understand it, but it's a concept more so than anything. And when we take that and we combine that with our individual energy, our individual consciousness, they combine and form something unique. Not only that, but we are not only one form. We are multidimensional beings of consciousness that contain so many different aspects which embody the totality of who we truly are. And this goes back to so many different things, to so many different parts that form what is this human being vessel that we are in. And not only is it an aspect of our soul and where we come from and the soul fragments that we are most connected to and the past lives that we have, but it's also the connections that we have with our DNA and in this lifetime and to the ley lines of particular places and planets and the families that we're born into. You know, all these things form a collective grid of energy for which we are maneuvering through. Something that I really like that I was reading about is archetypes are akin to a music note. When you combine music notes, what do you get? You get a song. You get music. So when you have one note and you combine it with multiple notes, or you have one archetype and you combine it with multiple different archetypes and a conglomeration, you get a unique piece of art, a unique piece of music. And all we are is light. Everything is light. It's just light combined with carbon in order to form a physical manifestation. As above, so below. The inner reflects the outer. The macro reflects the micro. No matter how big and how small we get, these patterns continue to repeat. We live in a world of patterns. Mother Nature is full of patterns. If you look at the fractals contained on seashells or flowers or just different, even different animals, different plants, the way that they are shaped, the way that they are structured, the way that they grow with the Fibonacci sequence, which is a certain sequence of patterns it utilizes in order to embody this energy so that it can blossom into what it's meant to become. You can think of archetypes as a series of sacred rhythms, recurring and repeated patterns. These patterns are intertwined within our consciousness, within our DNA itself. And we tap into these energies by tapping into the collective consciousness. The collective consciousness is like a field that surrounds us, that embodies us, that we are a part of, and it is one with everything. Within that, we are able to tap into different energies, different aspects of ourselves. Another thing that I really resonated with is the idea that archetypes are like a unifying field, or like this gravitational attractor that draws together a complex array of eternal objects into singular, though always fluid, forms. As we begin to take on certain characteristics and certain energies, we begin to step into different identities. We begin to draw to us these archetypes. We begin to embody these archetypes. We begin to step into them. Because archetypes tell a story. Just as life is an ever unfolding story. Stories within stories. We are constantly evolving through this process of understanding ourselves. It's not fully understood until you watch it through to the end. As we go through life, we may have hunches, we may have an intuition about certain things that later comes to be true because we were tapping into that energy, into that field of consciousness. As we begin to move through this, the path that we take and the decisions that we make will ultimately determine who we become in the process. Combine that with the energies and forms that we already have embodied from our energetic imprints, our DNA, our physical surroundings, the people around us. We've already begun to embody these different forms within us without even realizing it, because that's just part of human nature. We are constantly seeking to understand and identify not only ourselves, but the world around us. These objects, these external objects, serve to help us understand and relate to what we are experiencing in our inner world. It's only natural for us as beings of consciousness to want to create that of which we feel inside of us, for us to extend that energy outward. And honestly, that's why we are all here, I believe, because we all have a gift. And I believe it is our duty, our destiny, to follow that path, to find the keys that will unlock the gates that will lead us through to our destiny. And I believe that these archetypes once we begin to understand them within ourselves and how they operate and how to work with them, we will begin to navigate the world around us and understand how to better communicate and interpret and become aware of what is happening in the moment and be able to express those back to the world. Carl Jung is one of the most well-renowned people on this subject, and he often refers to the 12 different archetypes, which there's a variation of archetypes out there. An archetype essentially tells a type of story. What are the different ways to connect with these archetypal energies? One way you can do it is through journaling. And journaling is something that's truly helped me in my life. It's helped me. I have probably at least 10 full journals, probably more than that. I don't even know. I have a whole box full of them. It's really helped me to understand and reflect back on my life and the symbols that I have seen coming up throughout, so that I can understand better who I am within that framework, within these symbols. And also another way to better understand ourselves and connect with these archetypes is through our dreams. Yeah, our dreams actually give us a lot of messages from our unconscious. Our unconscious speaks to us through symbols and dreams, through messages, sometimes it comes in the form of a person, sometimes it comes in the form of an animal, sometimes it comes in the form of a story unfolding in the dream. When we think of different animals, I like to think of animals as guides, just as everything else in life. Animals each represent different aspects, different symbols of energy. So when you think of a particular animal, you associate a certain type of energy with that animal, right? You associate a certain type of consciousness with that animal, because that animal is embodying a certain form, a certain energetic frequency, or rather an energetic imprint, for which every type of species within that animal is going to follow. But within that imprint of that animal is going to have its own unique individuation. So the archetypes combine with the energy of that being, and within the two, they become its own expression. Because we are multi-dimensional beings of consciousness, and we have multi-layered energies within us, these archetypes come out in different expressions. It is important for us, however, I believe, to understand the archetypal energy for which we are currently in, and understand the lessons for which it is teaching us. Because if we can understand the lessons, then we can understand the path that energy is taking and where it is leading us, and if that is actually where we want to go. Part of understanding where we want to go is understanding where we've been and understanding who we are. Because how can we understand what we want if we don't even understand who we are and what we truly desire within our hearts? I feel like so many people out there in the world, they seek things without a true meaning behind it. They seek things without true essence. They want things based on a purely physical manner, oftentimes. And this comes in the form a lot of times of like fashion. People desire to wear certain brands or have certain types of clothing or have something physical that gives them this identification. So because these things have no true depth to them, people often get lost in what mystics refer to as the Maya, in this illusory reality of this dense physical reality. People get lost in this because it's convincing, Because the only way for us to perceive this reality is through our senses. Our senses act as like transmitters and receivers to take in and send out this energy. In order for us to perceive this reality, for instance, our eyes, the light comes into our eyes and reflects an image back to us. So everything around us is actually patterns of light frequencies. And in order for us to actually see this physical reality, we have to be able to perceive these light waves that are coming in to our consciousnness. And that is done through the five senses. So we might see a table here, or a blanket, but these things actually aren't, that they are reflected back, because these things are actually just photons. They're light particles that have formed itself in a particular way with carbon in order for us to be able to perceive it. So our projection of reality has formed itself for us to be able to operate within and understand and bring down these higher dimensional aspects of ourselves if we choose to. And the archetypes allow us to do that because it gives us the ability to step into these different forms, to interact with these different forms, and to perceive them through a variation of different means. And also through different people. We meet different people in our lives that express these back to us. And the whole aspect of archetypes comes in stories as well, like I mentioned earlier. There's an archetype to stories. And within the story itself, there are characters that each of these main characters often embody a different archetype. And that's where the zodiac comes into play. The zodiac is a series of 12 different archetypes that we all fall under in some way or another. We all embody these different zodiac signs within us. If you look at somebody's chart, they have a little bit of each sign within their chart somewhere, or there's at least influence of every sign. So we have these energies within us, but it's understanding how to use them and how to work with them in a way that best suits us in our individual expression of consciousness. And that's what's most important here, is figuring out how to step into that and harness that fire within us so that we can truly embody and express that back to the world from our fullest and most heartfelt place. As we work with each of these archetypes and we unlock different aspects of ourselves, we will begin to embody a new version of ourselves, a multi-dimensional version that begins to see and operate the world in a different way. And our reality begins to reflect that. As we begin to feel this energy and express this energy and truly embody this within us, we will begin to see that reflected back to us in our external world. And we will project that out more and more. And we will attract more and more that will remind us of that and reflect back to us what we already feel inside of ourselves. So these archetypes help us to understand who we are by reflecting and mirroring back to us who we already know ourselves to be. And when we understand the story that life is unfolding before us, and we understand all these puzzle pieces, and we begin to see the magic and how they all come together and form a bigger picture, we will begin to transform in a way that you have never seen before, in a way that the world has never seen before. And you will be able to give back that medicine to the world. We all have a gift. And it's an embodying and understanding the totality of ourselves that we are able to unlock and express these gifts back to the world. So I encourage you, my friends, to take that step out, to take the leap of faith into the world of the unknown, to step outside of your comfort zone, and to embody these different versions of yourself. And I also wanted to mention that I do help people to step into this, to embody that fire, and to see who they truly are beyond these masks of illusion. So if you're interested in stepping into that and harnessing that fire within yourself, then check out the link below for coaching. I would love to work with you and help you to step into that within your own life. Because I truly believe that we all have a gift. And it is together, coming together and bringing those gifts together in unison, that we will be able to unlock, and that we will be able to transform the world and step into a entirely new way of being and living. The world that we lived in is something that I want you to think about as you go through this journey of life. Think of yourself as a pilgrim on a pilgrimage through life's ever-unfolding journey. I want you to consider, what type of pilgrim are you? And what is it that you are truly seeking? I'm truly grateful to be on this journey with you, my friends. Thank you for being here, for giving your gift to the world, and for just showing up and being yourself. Peace, love, namaste.